So you've probably heard the phrase blind as a bat. It's one of those sayings that just rolls off the tongue like curiosity killed the cat or dogs can't look up. But here's the thing, bats aren't blind. In fact, they can see just fine. And yet for centuries, people have been walking around saying bats can't see as if every bat out there is just flying around bumping into walls like some kind of drunk airplane. Today, we're going to unpack where this myth came from, why people still believe it, and what the truth about bat vision actually is. Spoiler, it's way cooler than you think. The myth of blind bats has a surprisingly long history. The phrase itself shows up in English literature centuries ago, often used as a metaphor for clumsiness or stupidity. People in the Middle Ages didn't really understand bats very well. To them, bats weren't quite birds, weren't quite mice, and weren't quite anything they could neatly categorize. That weirdness made bats easy targets for superstitions. Part of the confusion came from how bats fly. Bats have this erratic, zigzag style of flying at night, and to humans without night vision goggles, it just looks chaotic. People assumed, oh, they must be blind because no way they know where they're going. In reality, bats were using echolocation, a skill humans didn't discover scientifically until the 20th century. On top of that, early scientists sometimes added fuel to the fire. Back in the 18th and 19th centuries, when naturalists were trying to figure out bats, they focused heavily on their echolocation abilities and sort of underplayed the fact that bats had eyes. So in popular culture, the image stuck bats, you once were one blind. And of course, literature and pop culture love metaphors. Shakespeare, for example, uses bats in several plays as symbols of darkness and mystery. Over time, blind as a bat became less about actual bat biology and more of a poetic way of saying someone couldn't see well. It's like how we say eagle-eyed for sharp vision, even though most of us aren't literally measuring our eyesight against an eagle's. All right, let's get this straight. Bats are not blind. All bats have eyes, and most of them can see just fine. Some species even have excellent vision, particularly those that feed on fruit or nectar. These bats often rely on their eyes more than echolocation because they need to spot colorful fruit or flowers. Now, echolocation doesn't replace vision, it supplements it. Think of it like having two different navigation apps open on your phone at the same time. One shows you the map and the other shouts, "Turn left in 50 feet." Bats combine visual information with sound cues to get an even sharper picture of their surroundings. In fact, scientific studies have shown that some bats have vision adapted to low light. They can actually see in dim conditions better than humans. Fruit bats, also known as flying foxes, have particularly large eyes with lots of rod cells which allow them to see well in the dark. Some bat species can even detect ultraviolet light, which helps them locate flowers that glow in UV. So not only can bats see, but in some ways their vision is superior to ours. Where the myth really falls apart is when you look at bat behavior. If bats were truly blind, they wouldn't be able to migrate, avoid predators, or even find food in daylight conditions. But they do all of these things successfully. Echolocation is amazing, but vision is still an important backup system, especially in situations where sound doesn't work as well, like in heavy rain or noisy environments. Think about it this way. Calling bats blind is like saying your friend who always wears AirPods must be deaf. Just because bats rely on sound a lot doesn't mean they can't see. It's more like bats are multitaskers, they're listening and looking at the same time. Imagine if humans had echolocation. You're in a dark room, you clap your hands, and suddenly you know where all the furniture is. That would be incredible at 3 a.m. when you're trying not to stub your toe on the coffee table. Pop culture hasn't helped either. Cartoons often show bats as these blind, bumbling creatures flying into walls or chasing after things randomly. Even Batman, the superhero, kind of leans into this imagery. His whole character is built around darkness, stealth, and fear. But the truth is, if Batman wanted to be scientifically accurate, he'd have both night vision and echolocation gear built into his suit. It's also worth pointing out how weird the metaphor is in the first place. If you've ever seen a bat flying around, you know, they're ridiculously good at maneuvering. They can swoop, dive, and turn on a dime, avoiding obstacles in pitch-black conditions. If that's what being blind looks like, then I wouldn't mind being a little blind myself. So here's the truth, bats are not blind. They have functioning eyes they can see in the dark, and some species even have vision better than ours. Echolocation is a tool, not a replacement. Together, their vision and hearing give them an edge in navigating and hunting. The myth probably stuck around for so long because it makes for a catchy phrase. Blind as a bat sounds good. It's short, snappy, and easy to remember. Plus, most people don't interact with bats regularly, so they have no reason to question it. Pop culture literature and everyday speech just kept repeating it until it became one of those facts everyone knows even though it's not true. So next time someone says blind as a bat, you can correct them. Or better yet, you can flex with some bat facts like, actually bats can see sometimes better than humans. They also use echolocation, which is basically biological sonar. Then just walk away and let that knowledge bomb sink in. But hey, this is just one of many myths people still believe. If bats aren't blind, what other facts from your childhood might actually be wrong? Stick around because the next myth we're going to bust might just blow your mind.